Hello. Make sure this is closed. Goodness gracious. How's everyone doing? Y'all can see me and hear me, right? I'm not just speaking into the void. I hope not. I hope you can hear me. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, we can see you. Can you hear me? I know you can. Oh, well, clearly you can hear me if I. Lord, let me tell y'all. I had a birthday dinner to go to and did not time myself correctly, which is why I was running a little bit behind. Because I still had to get my little one in bed. All right, y'all. Hello. Welcome to the quarter two of Meet Me in the Middle. We had 3 books. Also, I'm multitasking again, so don't mind me. But we had 3 books that we discussed, or that we were supposed to read this month. The theme was I've Got the Magic in Me, and we were supposed to read Jaden Powers and the Inheritance Magic, The Daggers of Ire, and then we were also supposed to read Why Is That Book Slipping My Mind? Somebody remind me. Say the title for me. My brain is here, but I'm telling you, my brain is not on. It's here, but it is not on whatsoever. Accidental Demons. There we go. I had to think about the cover a little bit. So we were supposed to read those 3 things. Full transparency. Some people know this. I DNF'd one of the books because it was not working for me. But let's start with a general question. What did you rate each one of the books? Star rating for all 3. And then I'll tell you which one I DNF'd, for those of you who don't already know which one I DNF'd. It was not good. And I did give it a fair try. It was just not a great reading experience. Yes. Accidental Demons. I know, I feel like y'all might have had a better reading experience this go round than me, to be honest with you. Because honestly, I only had one that I was really, really hyped about. Jaden 4, Daggers. What is it? I don't even know what it is. DNF Daggers of Ire. Jaden Powers 5. Wait, hold on. Marissa, did you also DNF Jaden Powers? Or are you saying you gave Jaden Power 5 stars as well as Accidental Demons? I'm not sure how to interpret that. Oh, you DNF 2 of the books. Okay. Jess gave Accidental Demons 5 stars. Agree. Facts. 5 stars. No, I couldn't tell because it was like Jaden Powers 5 stars. And I was like, wait, are you Harry 2 stars, Jaden 4. Okay. So it seems like the consensus, the fan favorite was Accidental Demons, which I'm not surprised by. I gave Accidental Demons 5 stars. I gave Jaden 3 stars or 3.5. It was either 3 or 3.5. And then I gave The Daggers of Ire a big old DNF. Because, yeah. Let's start with that one. Because I'm not going to be able to contribute much to the conversation for those of you who finished it. I can't contribute much to it. I think, here's the thing. J.C. Cervantes, this is not the first time that I've read one of her books. I read one of her Rick Riordan Presents books. And that one also was a book that felt very convoluted and overstuffed for not much to happen. And I didn't end up DNFing that one, but I had a tough time making it through it. And I think I only ended up giving it maybe 3. I think I gave it 3 stars. I'm pretty sure I ended up giving it 3 stars, but I think it's the writing style and the pacing for her as an author that may not work for me. Now, one of these days, I do want to make it through all of the Rick Riordan Presents books. But now, because I'm struggling so much with her writing style and her pacing, I don't know if that's going to be a thing. I thought the concept of it was interesting, but it just moved too slow. I found myself getting very distracted, which there was nothing really to distract me, but I wanted to do everything but pay attention to that book. Yes. And that was my thing too. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm gonna give it till about a quarter of the way through and see if I'm gonna like this. And while I thought that there was gonna be an interesting exploration of grief, because I have a tendency to like when middle grade explores grief, especially through the lens of multiple people, right? How her father processed grief, of course, is going to be very different from the way that she processed grief. And I thought that thematically that could have been an interesting theme, but even that wasn't enough really to capture me. I think at 25% in, I still was trying to get a grasp on what was happening at that point. And so in terms of plot, I mean, I don't feel like, and from those of you who finish it, it just seems like nothing really happened. Same. I got far enough to where I was introduced to the friend, and I felt like the friend had more personality than her. And that's when I knew it was a problem. I found the shape-shifting aspect of it, I thought that was interesting. But the fact that your friend, who's a side character, was more entertaining is immediately a red flag for me. Like that was not a good sign for me as a reader, that I'm like, oh, well, your friend is cool. But even the aspect of possibly learning, because that introduction where we learn about them each getting stabbed with a dagger, even that, like getting a better grasp of what that meant, was not enough to keep me reading. And that's the second middle grade book that I've DNF'd this year. And it's not to say that I don't ever have a hard time with middle grade, but DNFing, completely different situation. Jessica, what was the guy's name again? Y'all remind me, please. I was not invested in this book. That is clear as day now. I was not invested at all. I don't remember nobody's name. The plot was convoluted. Nothing was happening. It's a horrible reading experience, unfortunately. Is that what it was? You gotta be kidding me. You're kidding, right? Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Cool cover. Interesting concept. Execution on that was not good. And I have nothing else to add for that. That was just not. It wasn't the best, unfortunately, and it never did. Ah, okay, so clearly that was everybody's least favorite read. That appears to be everyone's least favorite read. Let's talk about Jaden, because I think I have very different opinions of Jaden than everyone else. It was like she had a Spanish English and just pulled random words out of it. Child, the magic wasn't done well either. Okay. See, I didn't get as far as y'all. So my ideas of what this book was are probably so drastically different. What were some of the things that y'all loved about Jaden? So Jaden, for me, I think I talked to Jessica a little bit about this before. Jaden, to me, I think I read this earlier this year. Jaden, for me, I'm going to your comment, Jennifer. I have read a lot of middle grade magic boarding school type of books. And so I think my issue is that when I'm getting thematically or trope wise, right, I'm getting the same thing, which I don't mind. I know there are people who are like, I can't, this trope is overplayed. I will never say that, because I think that it's just bound to happen. That's just the nature of books in terms of like tropes. I think my issue is that I don't necessarily feel like Jaden did anything that stood out, that made it exceptionally different from the other magical boarding school books that I've read. So I'm going to use some examples. I think that A Taste of Magic, right, which is it's a good example. Magical boarding school, except there was this baking cooking show element to it that I really, really enjoyed. Adia Kelbara and the Circle of Shamans, magic boarding school with a very shocking twist to it that I enjoyed. So it's not so much of me being sick of the magical boarding school, and I always wanted to make sure I preface that. It's not that I'm tired of that. I think that if you have a trend of certain things coming out, kind of how like in romantasy, we're seeing a lot of play with dragons, right? You kind of have to put your own spin to it that makes your book a little bit more distinguished from the rest. And I feel like from that side of the book, I wanted it to feel a little different. But I will say that, like Jess, the friendship between the two boys was done. It was impeccable. It was beautiful. And I think that, especially watching two Black boys, right, with Jaden going through that process of grieving, and that love and bond and the advocating, I think that Jaden constantly did for his friend, right, that I love that absolutely, because I think one of the more difficult things in middle grade, and I'm glad that the author is doing it, is seeing that Black boy representation, especially in something like fantasy, and seeing those beautiful relationships that exist between the characters, right? I think there does need to be more of that, and I'm glad that that was a core focus of the book, their relationship and how much they loved and cared about each other, right? I absolutely adore that. But I think that what I struggled with is it not being, like I said before, more unique than what it was. It's kind of, yeah, that was a quick vibe. I think too the way that they kind of wrote, and I'm sorry, y'all know I'm horrible with names. The way they kind of wrote Jaden's friend off, it was just it was you just instantaneously encountering him, you knew automatically that this man was going to be up to no good. But I'm glad that yeah, and a second at the end. Yeah, I think it was Jaden's, for me, even though we don't see their relationship on page, right? I think for me, what I loved was Jaden's loyalty to him, even in the midst of his absence, right? I think that aspect of it is something that I loved. But I do wish that at the end we would have gotten more on the page moments. But like Jessica said, it almost, I don't know if y'all felt this way, it felt like the way that it ended, it had space for there to be another book. But from what I know, I don't think that there is another book coming out. And I almost wish that Jamar, I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything online. Um but I almost wish that there was some emphasis on um not some emphasis, that there was potential for another book. Um, but I haven't. I'm looking right now, and I haven't seen anything about this whatsoever. Like nothing about a sequel, um, or anything else like that. But I do think that like this whole idea that everybody wanted to paint his friend out as he went from being popular, like this guy who everybody knew, like when he gets there, like everybody knows who his friends who his friend is, even though even though he Jaden didn't know that, right? And then to kind of see his reputation go from being like super popular to now people are accusing him of siphoning other people's magic, like um that's pretty messed up. And to find out that it's not, it was actually him getting his own power siphoned. um I think that I don't know, like I guess for me, I wish there was more moments like that, right? um I feel like I wish there was more moments like that, like the whole idea of siphoning magic, or being able to pass your magic on from one person to another, like that I thought was cool. I wanted more of that. So it was like we were on the cusp of doing something that was very, very different than what I typically would expect. But I felt like it could have, more. And it reads very much so, I think, as a first novel in a series where it's a lot of setup. It's a little shaky a little bit, but it has potential to go much further and much deeper. And I haven't seen anything, y'all. I haven't seen anything. But the way that it ended, and I think that the other thing that I struggle with too is how which I think is like in middle grade and YA, the parental thing, how they just kind of like they I don't know. Like the parents just kind of like are there but not there, like that type of weird situation. But I wish. But it may just be it may just be a standalone, which I do think is kind of unfortunate. It is super unfortunate because I think that given the opportunity to explore the world more and given the opportunity to really build on some of those foundational things that we see in this first book, I think it could go well, but unfortunately, yeah, like that that was okay. Thank y'all. Because when I was reading this, I was like, I it was the overprotectiveness and then the nonchalant shit at the end that just blew me. Um and I know like that's not uncommon where we have parents who are not really super active in middle grade and YA, or they just magically are not, the kids are kind of directing themselves in a very weird way. But yeah, I do. I think it's I don't know. That stood out to me. I must say that was one, especially at the end. I was kind of like, what happened to this energy that we were serving in the beginning of the book, and now it's kind of like one of those things where it's completely and totally non-existent. But you know what? I do like Jamar's writing style. I wasn't bored reading it. I could say that. That much I do know. Unlike reading the other one, I wasn't bored reading it. I think this is just an issue of wanting a little bit more from the story itself and wanting a little bit more from the characters. But I know Jamar also has hold on, let me look up the name of the series. Because I believe that it's Cameron, what is it called? Cameron Battle. I do want to read that. That's another middle grade fantasy. No, I didn't get sleepy at all. Hey, facts. So I feel like we all just, that was not, can't win them all, but goodness gracious. I was like, it can't be that bad. It was. So I may try Cameron Battle. Because I think I do own a copy of that one. And I've heard really good things about Cameron Battle. Anything else from her? Yeah, I can confirm that her writing style doesn't really this is not a one-off thing. Like her writing style is not going to change. Like this is what you see is what you get. This is that type of situation. Unfortunately. Because I know some writers can, you know what I'm saying? Like they'll have that one-off book where it's like, I typically like them, but that just wasn't a favorite read. No. I think it is literally her writing style and how she plots her books that doesn't work for me. Yeah, he has Cameron Battle. That's a 2-book series. And then Finding Prince Charming, which is his queer YA romance, just came out this year. Yeah, just came out last month. So I definitely will read more by him because his writing is entertaining. Most definitely. That's coming back to you. All right. Let's talk about the fan favorite, Accidental Demons. When I first read that book, I wanted everybody and their mother to read it because it was my first time not saying that it doesn't exist or that there haven't been other instances. But that was my first time reading Disability Rep in a middle grade series, and the backdrop to said book is the genre is fantasy. I was very shocked, like very, very shocked, that it was a debut book. And I am not surprised that maybe because of this, Claire has gotten is it a YA or is it an adult? I think it's an adult book deal. And also the sequel to Accidental Demons comes out November of this year. I was very, very shocked. For those watching on replay or who haven't read the book and just interested in watching it, Claire also is a type 1 diabetic. And so you really could feel the authenticity and the disability representation. It's crazy that it's a debut. Every time I book talk that or I tell people to read that book, I always tell people that book does not read like a debut. There are some people who write who were meant to write. You know what I'm saying? I think that they just have that gift. Claire is one of those people. I read so much middle grade at this point in my life that I know when I start a middle grade book, whether that's going to be one that's going to stick with me. And when I say immediately immersed in this world, there's always those handfuls that are immediate hits. And this definitely was an immediate hit. Yeah. Yup. It's very, I don't know. This book has layers to it, y'all. I don't even know. It's crazy because it's like, it's my favorite read of the entire month. And I don't even know where to start with how great of an experience this was. It was so intentional. It was so well thought out. It was fun. It was fresh. I think that even taking conversations about what happens, which is why I never understand when people say, like, this is a good example of people saying, like, oh, well, fiction is fiction. It's not the real world. And yet here we have a middle grade fantasy that does mirror a lot of real world experiences, right? I love the conversation, and this is the part that always stands out to me. When she has to learn how prejudiced her family has been towards other magical creatures. and how much of a gap in education she has because of what she's been taught. When I tell you, listen, there's also something to be said about an adult who can parallel write. And when I say parallel write, one, I'm making that up. They can write keeping their target audience in mind, but also write in a way that can prompt a parent or caregiver to have further conversations with the child that's reading that book. This is one of those books that you can read in tandem with your child and have some very interesting paralleling conversations about real world implications. It's so fascinating because I feel like this literally for me is the core example of you can use fiction to comment on what is happening in the real world. And for people who don't believe that, I just implore, just read this book alone. Like, yes, this good example. This is real. This is so real. Not having enough, your insurance is not good enough in order to pay for an insulin. I know people adults who deal with that, who cannot have what they need because their insurance is not going to pay for it. Right? Right? It's just and then like you said early, Jennifer, I think what I appreciated about how she handled it is that nothing felt how they, I apologize, Claire uses they them pronouns. What I appreciated about how they wrote this book is that it flowed so naturally, right? You could pick up on all of these real world examples set in a fantasy world, and yet it did not feel forced. None of it felt forced. None of it felt forced whatsoever. Even the conversation about indigenous magic prior to the arrival of her Irish immigrants, I said, you know what? Not we even talking about on colonialism, imperialism, and how these things have existed before. And there's much to be said about that being addressed, because even in a magical setting, there are examples of colonizing. I don't know, man. Yeah, her grandmother was a piece of work. And it was so, I think at first, like, I felt like there was something off with the grandmother, but I couldn't, it wasn't until, she got around these other group of people that it became so very obvious what her grandmother was on. Like, you could feel the vibrations weren't good. But I think watching her not understand things in real time, I was like, and this is an example of how hate, prejudice, racism, that stuff is taught to children. They don't come out knowing it. It's taught to them. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mm, it's something that I think I have not seen done before. It's nothing that and the fact that still I wonder how this is going to play out in the second book, right? And I wonder, that's what I'm saying. That right there, you said the words. I wonder how all of this is going to play out in the second book, because it ended in such a way that I was like, where is book 2? And to be honest with you, because I think, and I'm not too familiar with how it works in the industry, but I do feel like they're not going to get as much buzz, right, as some of these titles that you see on social media. And what always makes me so nervous about that is if sales are not good, it makes me feel like, well, they're not going to, sign a contract for a follow up or whatever the case may be if it doesn't do well. And especially like with children's in middle grade, like, because even on Goodreads, in terms of like people writing reviews and stuff like that, it just doesn't get as much attention. And so when it ended, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I was very, very nervous. And I finished this book. I read this book last year. And so at the time of me reading the book last year, there was no word of a sequel yet. So I was very nervous that it would not get a sequel. And so I was happy to find when Claire did post on their Instagram the cover reveal, and I just shared it because it's just one of those things that it makes me feel like when you have books that are this good, right, that are just this amazing, and they don't get like, this book didn't get any major accolades at all, and I was hoping that it would at least get the Schneider Family Book Award, which is the youth media award that they give out for disability representation. I was hoping that maybe it would be a potential for that, but it didn't, and it wasn't necessarily a lot of buzz around it, and so I just got nervous about the fact that we, what was the likelihood of us getting a sequel, especially with an ending like that, and not knowing about Finn and the grandmother. December. Is it December? I'm sitting here saying November. I thought it was well, first of all, I thought it was October at one point. See, Mixing Magics, which is the name of the sequel. November 11th is the release date for the physical book. So it may be different for the ebook and e-audio because those don't always release simultaneously. Especially with middle grade, they don't always release simultaneously. Sometimes they'll take a little bit more time to release the e-audio and the ebook. Yeah, that's the way I kind of felt too. I felt like they had done such an excellent job, and they were super creative and thought very much so outside the box. And I was shocked, honestly. I was very shocked that there was nothing. No mention, no nothing. She chose. I can't remember either. Names, names are not going to be my thing. Yeah, it probably, yeah, and it's probably because the audiobook is probably not releasing till December. I'll check on my back end too to see. The audiobook is probably not releasing till December, but the physical print book is supposed to release in November. Let me see if I get. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, the audiobook is not releasing. I see it on the back end too. The audiobook is not supposed to release until December, unfortunately. But the print book will be out on the 11th. The ebook, I see the ebook is supposed to be releasing on the 11th as well. At least that's what I see in Overdrive on the back end. It does say estimated release date November 11th, but the audiobook estimated release date is not until December 9th. Finn is funny. Finn is super funny. I do know that before I dive into this one, I'm going to do a reread of it. And that is one that I do want to physically own. I would love to physically own that book because it was so good. Okay. For third quarter, since we're coming up on 40 minutes, I don't want to. Okay. For third quarter, which is July, I know we're already almost through July, August, and September. The theme is the Twilight Zone. And I chose the Twilight Zone because Twilight Zone sci-fi. And so genre-wise, we are focusing on sci-fi titles. We are reading Futureland, which Futureland is the first book in, I think it's 3 books in the Futureland series right now. I have read this one before. The first, I should say, you know what, y'all? I say Futureland, but the title itself is Battle for the Park. That's the name of the first book. The series is Futureland. We're only reading the first book, which is Battle for the Park. I read this one a long time ago when it first released 3 years ago. And I believe, let's see how many books are in the series now. There are 3 books in the series. So I'm going to have to go back and definitely read that because I don't remember anything from that. I know that it is a theme park. It's a futuristic theme park that takes place in Atlanta, and it's a flying theme park. But outside of that, let me tell you, that's all I got for you. The next book that we'll be reading is The Last Quintista. I think that, to be honest with you, I think that mileage is going to vary on The Last Quintista. That is an award-winning book. That one, Newbery. And I think that people always have very polarizing views of that book. I've never read it, but from people that I know that are librarians who have read The Last Quintista, it's very fascinating what people end up thinking. So I'm very excited to see what y'all think of that one. And I have a feeling that we will be split on The Last Quintista. And then the last one on the list for the Twilight Zone is Alien Summer. This is the first book in the Area 51 series. That one I think has about 3 or 4 books as well attached to it. I can't remember when the first one came out though. That Alien Summer. I can't remember when the first one came out, but it does, I think it's 3 books. Let me look. I feel like it's 3 books now, but we could be up to 4. One thing too about middle grade sci-fi, it's not published as frequently as fantasy. So coming up with books for this one was interesting. There were some other things that I could have chose from, but they're not published as frequently. Okay, there's 3 books in this series. So for all of you who were starting series, I'm so sorry. Who don't like starting series, I apologize. My bad. But those are the three. And I'm going to go ahead and also tell y'all the books and the theme for quarter four. So quarter four is October, November, and December. And the theme is This is Halloween, because we're starting in October. And so I wanted to go with a horror, spooky type vibe for October, November, and December. The first book is The Boo Hag Flex. This one is also part of a series. It is each book, how do I put this? Each one of the books is written by a different author, but they follow the same type of storytelling. So if you've ever seen like Are You Afraid of the Dark? It's that. It's a story within a story. And the series itself is called Tales from Cabin 23. And this is the first one by Justina Ireland. I believe that they're up to almost book 4 in the series, 3 or 4 they're up to. But if you like that element of it, like the story within a story, Are You Afraid of the Dark, where it is like literally horror within horror, you probably will enjoy that one. I recommend, if you can, reading that one physically. Or does this one have illustrations in it? I could be lying. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm making that up. I could be making it up. I don't know why I thought, and I read this one on ebook before as well. I thought it had illustrations, but it may not have illustrations. Don't listen to me. But yeah, the second one is The Haunted States of America, which is one that I've been wanting to read for a very long time, and I did not make it happen at all. But this one is a short story collection, and so I feel like mileage is going to vary on this one depending upon the story. But it is literally 52 different stories by 52 different authors, and each story is a scary story from a different state or territory. So you have the 50 states, and then I believe that they include DC and Puerto Rico. So I don't know all of the authors who are attached to it, but I think that it's going to be it's going to be really, really interesting to see what we like and then what we don't like, and like which states end up being favorites, which ones end up not being favorites. I think this is one of those that I'm probably going to have to take notes on, because to remember 52 different stories is going to be kind of not kind of tragic. It will be tragic if I don't take notes on this. I do think that this one does possibly have illustrations in it. I don't think there's an audiobook for this one. I think this one only came out in print and ebook. I don't think there's an audiobook for it. And the last one is more supernatural, and it's the Supernatural Files of C.J. Delaney. This is another one that I have been meaning to read for a very, very long time. Never got to it. Loved the cover. Haven't really heard too many people, including like fellow librarians, really talk about this one. And I'm not familiar with the author. I don't know if they've done anything else outside of this book. This may be the only book that they have done, but I think that this one is going to be strikingly different from the others, in that it will probably have a little bit more of a contemporary feel to it. Mystery, contemporary type of feel to it. Yes, it is the Ellen Hopkins one. Yep, it definitely is. So I'm going to be interested in seeing how that one's going to play out. Here, I'll type them. Okay. So for anyone who missed them, those are, oh, you said third quarter, not fourth. My bad, Marissa. Reading is fundamental. Because you didn't ask me for fourth quarter. Here, let me. Okay. Well, either way, that's quarter 4 and quarter 3 for everyone. I put quarter 4 first, which is the horror. Quarter 3 is science fiction. Everybody got that? I'm sorry for the confusion. No problem. I read it and I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Quarter 4. You definitely did not say quarter 4. You definitely said quarter 3. Yeah. It's about that time for me. You're welcome, y'all. All right. So, that is it for me for tonight. We are almost at an hour. I know listen, let me tell you, I think what I will do next year, when I do this next year, I'm just going to announce all the books at one time, right? So that is easier for everybody. Because me wanting to release this quarter by quarter, stupid decision. It was me trying to create suspense when in reality, everyone knows Ashley stretches herself thin. And then I have the memory of a goldfish. So then there's that. So next year when we do this, I will release all 12 titles at one time. So I don't have to worry about doing any of this. That's it. That's what we're about to do. Next year, all 12 titles will be released at the top of the same way we do Realm of Kidlit Comics. That's my channel name. The way we do the comic book club, we finna release all the titles at one time. That way I don't have to worry about trying to decide when to release titles or forgetting to release titles or whatever. Listen, no, because you're not hounding me, you're reminding me, because if you didn't remind me, I would forget. So I appreciate you saying, Ashley, we need next quarter. Because if you did not remind me, I tell people that at work too. If you don't remind me of some things, it's mom brain. I'm telling you, you get pregnancy brain, and what they don't tell you, it never goes away. You forget everything. You don't remember anything at all. And I already have a bad memory, so that did not help. So you appreciate, Jessica. You're not hounding me. Promise you're not. So I will see y'all for this book club at some point in September. I'm glad I did, Marissa. I will see y'all at some point in September for this book club. Either September or early October for this book club. And while I have y'all here, if you're a part of Comic Book Club, do not forget that Comic Book Club is next week. We didn't push it back any further. So we do have Comic Book Club next Wednesday at 8:30. Because some of y'all do both. So if you're a part of Comic Book Club, don't forget that. Because I sure was about to forget. I appreciate y'all's energy and the fact that y'all actually want to do this. I appreciate it. Because we see book clubs for everything else. And, I would hope that, this age group does deserve some love too at some point. So I appreciate y'all riding it out with me. And I will see y'all soon. If you do comic book club, I will see y'all next Wednesday at 8:30 on this channel. Y'all have a good night.